Well, yesterday was my most frustrating time that I've had with my Ainol Novo 7 Venus tablet. This is the tablet that I have been looking at for the past 4 months and wanting to purchase, and was finally able to purchase it about a month ago. Um, what I've been reading online, when people have done a firmware update, they've gotten significantly improved performance from their tablet. So I've been plodding along. Some days the tablet would work okay, other times, in particular yesterday, it was just dreadfully slow, painful. Things just weren't working right. So in a hasty decision where things weren't going right, I decided to update my firmware last night. The original plan was to wait for somebody to do a video to show me how to do this firmware update, since I have read that several people who have failed attempts and even have bricked their tablet. I didn't want that to happen, so I was going to use my tablet as long as I could, maybe another month or two, and wait for a nice video to come out to show me how to do it step by step. Well, that didn't happen. Since there was no video, and in the frustration of yesterday's performance, I just dove in last night and attempted my firmware update. This is not how I recommend you do it. Plan out your update, get your files, everything together, have everything on hand, go over what directions you can, and do it while you're wide awake to give yourself the best chance of being successful. I lucked out last night. I had several failed attempts of doing the update and finally got it to go through, and now I have a much better performing tablet. So the video that you're going to see later on after this intro will show some of the attempts, and you should be able to piece together enough of the procedure as well as whatever other directions you find online to help guide you through this process. I'll give you the same disclaimer that everybody else will give you. Things can go wrong and your tablet can be rendered worthless, so proceed at your own risk. All right, let's have a look. Since this was a spur of the moment install, I just wanted to kind of show you my folder structure. First, the update tool. You get to this final setup file, launch that, follow the directions to get the actual tool installed, and then the next screen is just going to show you the file structure where I actually have the firmware located. So we can go from here. So after stumbling around trying to load the drivers for the tablet, I'm not sure what the final correct technique was, but I finally got the drivers properly installed. But then I had that failed attempt that you just saw to actually update the firmware. It just got stuck there. I tried pressing the power button. Eventually I ended up just unplugging the USB cable and starting the process over again. So when the video picks up, basically I've plugged the tablet back in. Oh, one thing that may not be clear from some of the other descriptions: when you hold down the volume up button while hitting the power button to boot it or to restart it, your tablet's just gonna have a black screen. So that's what you're gonna see, is just a black screen. If you see the logo, Ainol logo starting to flash, then you know you didn't do it right and you need to repeat it again. So you need to have a black screen by holding down the volume up button and the power button at the same time, and then that's when you connect the USB cable. All right, let's go back to the video. Here's the folder where I have my firmware stored, and from the upgrade tool you'll just come in here, basically by clicking this replace firmware button. It'll bring up a dialog button, navigate to that, click on the jelly bean. It'll be the only file that shows up from that tool at that time, and then later on I'll show you how to add the other files. Okay, after you've done that, you need to load the 3 image files: the recovery partition, the miscellaneous partition, and the system partition is shown here. In the highlighted area, you just click on the little image button and go in and load each one of those till all 3 of those are loaded and selected and ready to go. Okay, if you've got that all done successfully and you've got your tablet connected properly, you'll see a 1 up here as indicated by the arrow instead of a 0 that is showing right now. And then the button that says down is when you actually start the actual download procedure of the firmware down to your tablet. So here we go. So it's started the firmware update. It's at 35% right now. The timer is at 2 minutes and coming up on 2 minutes 30 seconds. We're still at 35%, so hopefully hopefully we're not stuck there. That would be a bad thing. Well, I had to abort those first couple of attempts. Things just kind of locked up there. It got stuck at 35% and wasn't going on. I tried pressing the power button. That didn't reset thing. Eventually ended up unplugging it from the USB port and unplugging it back in, and finally I think this was the attempt that went to completion. Again, here's the screen I got when I plugged the device. Had the device plugged in and then hit the power button while holding down the volume up button. I finally got this driver software installation successful, although I tried to install the driver earlier, and maybe I did, but this is the first time I got this window. Well, we're at 4 minutes now, and I'm not feeling too good about this. We're stuck at the 35% completion. So I'm going to let it go for maybe 10 minutes before I panic. Here we are over 7 minutes, and we're still at 35% completion on writing the recovery partition. It's not looking good. I don't know what's best, to try to hit the power button on the tablet or to just unplug it from the USB port. I'm going to try probably first holding down the power button to see if something happens. Well, now not only has the progress stopped at 35%, but the timer has stopped at 8 minutes and 26 seconds. So I have no choice but to do something. Well, I held down the volume up and the power button, and I heard the computer seem to recognize it again. Timer's restarted, but for some reason we still, it says opening an image fail. So let me try to reload the software, I guess. Reload the tablet product tool. So I exit out of the tool. I'm going to try reloading it again. And it's wanting me to find the software. See if I can navigate to where I've got the software. Now we need to reload these 3 things again. First one's recovery partition. Miscellaneous. And a system partition. So we've got those loaded again. Everything's checked here. Except we don't have the device showing up. So we can't, there's nothing to click on, so I'm going to have to try to have it recognize the tablet again. Held the volume up and power button again. I heard the computer acknowledge that it saw it. And now we're showing one device here. Click the download button again and hope for the best. We're at that 35% mark again. and we seem to be stuck again. So what I'm going to try to do, if I can get out of this successfully, is I've downloaded this file 2 or 3 times. Maybe I'll just try a different location on my hard drive. Oh, we're past 35. We're up at 37, 38. Maybe this is going to work. This is the system partition that's writing right now at 40% completion. I'm going to turn the video off and update it again if it goes on. Well, I just got a blue bar and it says successful. Only thing I saw it writing was the system partition, even though I've got recovery and miscellaneous partition selected. So I'm not sure if it just picked up where it left off before or just skipped them. So I'm going to disconnect the USB card and hope for the best. So I held the power button down for about 5 or 6 seconds. We're getting the boot up screen. And just hope that I don't have a paperweight. So far so good. So far so good. So I'm not even sure if I go into settings if I will recognize. Yeah, I think in the About Tablet tab, if it ever finishes booting up, maybe I can check and confirm that the new firmware is there. Well, we got new firmware because we've got Chinese, so now I gotta figure out how to change the language. I forgot to take a shot of the screen here before I started reloading my apps. So the apps that I've added so far have been Netflix and Beyond Pod. So the Beyond Pod and Netflix and Google Drive, those are the 3 that I've added. So this, if you keep that in mind, because there's quite a few apps have been cleared off, all the Chinese apps and probably a few others. So that gives you some idea how many apps just the base new firmware is going to come with. So if you take off those 3, that's what you're going to be starting out with. Again, I've added Netflix, Google Drive, and Beyond Pod, and I'm going to go back into the App Store and reload. Well, that's the video of my successful firmware update. It wasn't very clean. I apologize for that. But between my video, the other video that is done, I think in Chinese, and the text you can find on the procedure on a couple other websites, that should be enough to give you enough confidence to give it a go. So good luck, and I hope you're successful.